So let me just start off by introducing myself. So I'm Valerie Taylor. I'm the CEO and president of Commanded. And so Commanded is the presenter of the Tapia Conference. We're also the presenter of the LEAP Alliance, and we have many programs that looks at fostering inclusion through synergistic activities, so really fostering innovation through inclusion. So sorry about that, my eyes, but fostering innovation through inclusion. And so today, and we also have with us, we have Sheila McShane, who is our Director of Program Development, or actually, sorry, Director of Business Development with Commanded. So happy to have you here as well,
Thank you.
Sheila. And for today, we have our partner, Jane Street, and we have Marina Zambrona, and she is with Campus Recruiting Strategy. So really great, the strategic aspect of campus recruiting. So well informed to give us the exciting information about what's going on with Jane Street. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Marina, and we'll spotlight Marina. I'll go off, and then we'll have time for questions. So thank you. I'll turn it over to you, Marina.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Valerie. I am so excited to be here and join you all today for the second part of this webinar series about Jane Street and all the fun stuff that we have going on and things that you can apply to and participate in. So I know that a few of you, or maybe a handful of you that weren't here for session one, maybe missed kind of the introduction that I did on Jane Street. So I'm just going to spend a little bit of time at the beginning talking more about who we are, what we do, and then go more into opportunities we have, specifically our in-house programs, because those are a big way that people really learn more about us, get more exposure to the firm and the people that work here, and also something that I work very closely with. So I will kind of dig a little bit deeper into that, and then we'll end with questions, as Valerie mentioned. So start thinking about things that you might be curious about or things that you want to ask. But just to kind of start off a little bit about me, as Valerie mentioned, I work on a team here at Jane Street called Campus Recruiting Strategy. So I sit within the recruiting team, but my sub-team and I think specifically about how to recruit top talent to come work at Jane Street. So thinking about how to get our branding out, campuses to target, parts of the world that we want to go to, events that we want to host. So it's this really, I love to say it's kind of this really cool job that is somewhere between being really creative and thinking about engaging ways to get students interested in us and to learn more about us, with also the very technical aspects of candidate management and hiring and things like that. So it's really great. I always say that I love the kind of mixture of the work that I do on the desk, but also interactions that I have with students. I love talking with students about Jane Street in general and what makes it so great and why I love working here so much. So I love doing events such as these, like webinars, just giving more information so that people can make informed decisions on where they would like to apply and eventually start their careers. So just a little bit about Jane Street in general. So Jane Street is a relatively young firm. We were founded in the year 2000. We are a quantitative trading firm. So basically what that means is that we use technology and algorithms to trade in the stock market. So we hire all sorts of people to basically help us develop these techniques and trading strategies. So a big part of what our firm is we always say that as much as we consider ourselves a financial firm, we also consider ourselves a pretty big tech firm as well. About a third of our workforce is technologists, and that is technologists all across the firm, everything from people that work directly on trading desks to people that work in ML, to people that work in IT or helping build internal infrastructure. So there's really, we kind of run the gamut in terms of the types of technology positions that we have available. And those span across internships and full-time positions as well. In addition to technology, we have, of course, our trading group as well. So this includes traders and researchers. So these are the people that are actually executing the trades on a daily basis, and they do make up, as you can probably imagine, a large portion of our firm. And our third largest group is going to be our infrastructure group. So this is basically everything that helps Jane Street run as a business. Things like recruiting, so recruiting talent to keep the business growing, and bringing new people into the firm. It can be business development, thinking about efficient ways to run the business as a business. Our legal team, finance, HR, basically everything that doesn't fall into technology and trading will sit in infrastructure. So that's kind of how we like to think of the major parts of our firm. I will kind of give also just a little bit of an overview because we are kind of coming up to an exciting time in the summer where our internships will actually start opening up in July. So next month. So this is for internships in the summer of 2025. So all of our major internships will open up, I would say probably in the second or third week of July. And we recruit for internships on a rolling basis, and these are open to undergraduates and graduate students. So the only criteria that you have to meet is that you have to be in between school years. So even if you are graduating from your undergrad program and entering a master's program or a PhD program, you are still eligible. So you basically just have to be entering an academic year in the fall of 2025. So those, like I mentioned, are going to be opening up in July. So that's everything from our trading internship, research internship, all of our technology internships. This is true across all of our offices. So something I should have mentioned earlier. So we have 3 major offices around the world in New York City. So this is what I consider kind of our flagship office. It's where we first opened up and is our only office in North America. We have a big office in London, and then we also have a big office in Hong Kong. So internships for all 3 of those offices will open up, like I mentioned, in July. As for full-time opportunities, I know that there might be some of you on this call that are graduate students or maybe undergraduates that are about to end your program. So for those students, our full-time positions are actually pretty unique in that they basically never close. So we hire year-round. We are a firm that is rapidly growing. So we are growing not only in size and the number of people that we hire, but also just in the type of work that we're doing. We are constantly trying new things, working to make things more efficient, working on different strategies and things like that. So we're always looking for more kind of human power to help us try all of these things and get our hands on as many of these things as possible. And so for our full-time positions, like I mentioned, we hire year-round for them. So we're constantly reviewing resumes, interviewing, extending offers. So our biggest recommendation for folks is to apply to a full-time position at the time of year where you would feel comfortable potentially interviewing pretty soon after that. So for example, our recruiters work very, very fast. I know that was something that I was stunned by when I was applying for a job here, was just how quickly I got a response and the turnaround time. And so if you apply and we decide to move forward with your candidacy, it could be just a week or 2 before you're being called in to interview. And so I always tell people, make sure that you apply when you would feel ready to potentially interview. And so because we hire year round, it really does not give you more or less of an advantage to apply at a specific time of the year. So if you want to graduate, take some time off in the summer, you're welcome to do so. Or if you want to apply right away, right after graduation, you're also welcome to do that. Something that I always like to mention as well about our full-time positions that I think is really important and something that we really value here at Jane Street is that as a firm, we do not offer exploding offers. So if you are not familiar with what an exploding offer is, that's basically when a company gives you an offer of employment and tells you that you have to make a decision by a certain date or else the offer disappears. We don't believe in that. We would never pressure you to make a decision before you're ready. And so we basically put a date on our contracts to make them legal contracts. But if that date comes and goes and you're still not ready to make a decision, that's totally fine. You can take as much time as you need. So we've definitely had people receive offers, take a couple of months to think about it. and then get back to us about when they would like to start. So there's lots of flexibility, lots of time and mobility in terms of your employment here. So I always tell people to just do things when you would feel ready. Something that I really think that we value here at Jane Street, and I know that I've talked a little bit kind of about our internship program starting up, and our internship applications opening for next summer, and for our full-time positions as well, is kind of this pillar of learning and mentorship. And I know that this is something that I mentioned a little bit earlier in my talk, is a lot of people tend to learn about us before they even apply to an internship. And the way that they do that is through something that we call our in-house programs. Our in-house program offerings have grown substantially, I would say probably in the last 5 to 7 years. So we at this point run about a dozen in-house programs. So basically what these programs are introductory level engagements where students actually come to our office, and we fly students to our office if they're not local, and they basically get to engage with people at the firm, whether that be traders and devs or people in our infrastructure and business development groups. They get to listen to different lectures, engage in different activities, and it's really just a way for people to get to know us a little bit better. I know that Jane Street in general, as well as quant trading and quant finance, is a relatively newer kind of idea and industry. And so we really just want to give people the chance to come to our office without feeling like they need to, go through the daunting process of applying for an internship. So it's a little bit just kind of an accessible way for students to gain some more information about us. So as I mentioned, we do run about a dozen, so there are lots of them, and they all run at different times of the year. They're for different intended audiences. And so a big goal of mine for this talk today is to really kind of run through the details of every program. And so if there is a program that kind of resonates with you, or that you self-identify with the intended audience, that you're able to go to our website and easily find that program on our website and apply for it. I'm going to try to go through them in chronological order of when you would apply for the program. So starting with the programs that have the youngest age group, all the way through our opportunities for graduates as well, or for graduate students. So I'll start off with a program that is for a little bit of a younger audience, but I always like to throw it in here because I know that students have younger siblings or students that they worked with in some sort of capacity, or family members, or just people in general in your network that may be interested in an opportunity like this one. So this is actually a program that I run, so it's very near and dear to my heart. I believe in this program a lot, and I just feel very fortunate that I'm able to do this work. But this program is called the Academy of Math and Programming. We call it AMP here at Jane Street. And the intended audience is for students that have recently graduated from high school. So it takes place over the summer. So it happens in July, it's 5 weeks, and it is specifically for recent high school graduates that have experienced some barrier to accessing STEM opportunities. We have a very broad definition of what barriers means. So that could be anything from having some sort of financial strain in the family. It could be having living in a rural community where maybe these opportunities weren't as common or as present. It could be being a first-gen low-income student, URM. So basically anything that you feel has hindered your ability to access STEM opportunities, activities, camps, extracurriculars, anything of that sort. That is who that program is intended for. So like I mentioned, it happens in July. Student applications tend to open up in December of the prior year. So in December of 2024, student applications will open up for the summer of 2025. Something else that I also like to mention, another reason why I mentioned this program, is because there's also an opportunity for undergraduate students to get involved in this, and that is by being TAs. So every single year, we have to hire a group of undergraduate and graduate students to help us with the instruction of this program. The main material covered is advanced computer science and math topics. And you don't need to be majoring in math or CS to apply to be a TA. We have plenty of people that are humanities majors that took CS classes in college, or maybe were a math minor or something of that sort, that just really enjoy these topics and enjoy teaching, that have been TAs for us. So for our TAs, the applications for TAs tends to open up sometime in October. And we basically hire all the way, usually until about February for the following summer. So in October of this year is when applications will open up to be a TA in the summer of 2025. This program is also very special in that because it is 5 weeks, it is a residential program. So we provide housing for all students and TAs. We consider it a little bit, and I know students kind of coin it as a little bit of a summer camp. TAs will live in housing with the students. They will also act as RAs. So there is this kind of sense of community building and mentorship that comes along with the TA position. And so if you have been a camp counselor before, if you've been a TA in any of your classes, if you've engaged in any sort of summer enrichment programs like AMP, this might be a great way for you to get involved and also to learn a little bit more about Jane Street. So that is the Academy of Math and Programming that's actually going to be starting up in a couple of weeks. So we're really excited to be welcoming those students. Another program that I like to mention as well, for recent high school graduates, is for those students that identify as being an underrepresented minority group, and that is our UNBOXED program. So this is also a lengthier program. So this is for, I know a lot of you or all of you are in college or graduate school. So this might be for younger siblings or anybody in your network that will be graduating high school. It is multiple weeks. It is 3 weeks. However, it is a hybrid program. So the first 2 weeks will be completely virtual. So you will go through lectures and cover specific types of material relating to probability, programming, quantitative problem solving, and then all of it will kind of culminate into an in-person component where we fly students out to the New York office, and they will engage in activities and lectures with traders and developers here at Jane Street. So I know that students also just really like the idea of meeting all of these really interesting people through their online classes, and then finally being able to meet in person at the end of the summer. And like I mentioned, it is about a 3-week program. So these students spend a lot of time together in these lectures and classes. This happens all in July. And so UNBOXED and AMP actually kind of coincide for a couple of days. And so it's really also cool that we're able to do social events with each other, and things like that. Applications for UNBOXED tend to open sometime in April. So if you have anybody that is going to be going into their last year of high school, just tell them to keep an eye open for those applications next spring. And that is UNBOXED. Going into now one of our programs now for current first year undergrads. This is specifically for undergraduates that also identify as being URM, and this is called Focus. This happens in May of every year. Applications tend to open in January. And this is a 2-day program. What's really cool about this program is that it really encompasses information and engagement with all 3 of our major working groups. So that's trading, software engineering, and what we call strategy and product, which was formerly known as business development. And it's really just a way for students. Typically, it's a lot of students that have never even heard of Jane Street. So it's really a great way for them to get to know the firm, what we do, learn from the different groups in the firm. It is only 2 days, so we pack a lot of information into those 2 days. But students are typically very eager to kind of absorb all of that and to just get to know each other, learn a little bit more about Jane Street in general. And our hope is that through that, they are able to kind of get engaged with us before they are looking to apply for an internship, whether that be after their sophomore year or after their junior year. So it's really for kind of a program for students a little bit earlier on in hopes that they will come back to us later on. I'm going to jump a little bit just because these two programs kind of relate to each other. So there is what I like to consider, I'm not sure if we actually call it this, but I like to consider kind of the big sibling to Focus, which is called In Focus. So this program is for undergraduate and graduate students who self-identify as URM. And it is basically almost step two of what Focus is. So Focus is for those younger students. In Focus is when you're going to be a little bit older, a little bit further along in your academic career. I will say, just to emphasize, you do not have to have participated in Focus in order to participate in Focus. It is just, there are a lot of students that do both programs, but certainly if you don't want to participate in Focus or you're not eligible and only want to do In Focus, that is totally fine and you're still more than welcome to apply. But like I mentioned, it is for undergrad and graduate students who self-identify as URM. Usually happens sometime in January with applications opening up sometime in September. It is a little bit longer, it's 3 days instead of 2. And something else that is really special about this program is that it is one of our very few number of programs where you can actually apply to learn in depth about a specific track. So when you apply to In Focus, you apply to either learn about trading, software engineering, or strategy and product. So in the way that Focus was very general and you're learning a little bit about everything, In Focus really gives you the chance to dive deeper into something that is really of interest to you because you're going to be a little bit later on in your academic career. Perhaps at this point you have chosen your major or are going to graduate school for something a little bit more specific and in depth. So this is really a chance for you to dive deeper into those topics as well. The material covered, of course, is going to depend on the track that you are in, but it's usually a mixture of lectures, classes, activities, not just within your cohort of your specific track, but also program-wide. So you will get to know all the students in Focus, and also learning from several types of people around the firm with different jobs and things like that. So just because you apply to one track doesn't mean that you're never going to engage with anybody else. You certainly will. You're just going to dive a little bit deeper into the material covered in your specific track. So that is Focus for younger students, In Focus for undergraduates that are a little bit further along, and graduate students. And again, both of those programs are for those folks that self-identify as being URM. So back to kind of our younger programs, we have another program called FTTP, which is our first year training and technology program. This is one of our oldest programs. Tends to be one of our more challenging programs. We do tend to receive a lot of applications, but students really, really enjoy it. This happens in March, typically around, I want to say the 3rd week of March, just because that is when most schools will have spring break. And applications for this open in September. So this is a 3-day program. It does not have tracks, but as you could probably guess by the title, First Year Trading and Technology Program, it does dive deeper into our tech pillar and our trading pillar. You'll learn through classes. I know that this is also a program that people like because it will also engage a lot of trading simulations. So we at Jane Street have created a lot of games and activities that will help simulate trading activity, strategy, problem solving that we do on the desk through these really fun games. And so students really like that because they feel like they're really, learning about the energy and the kind of work that goes into trading. And so students really tend to like that. But like I mentioned, it is only 3 days, so it's a jam-packed 3 days. But students really tend to like that. So that is our first year trading and technology program. Another program that we have 2 programs that are specifically for those folks that self-identify as women or gender expansive folks. And that is WISE and Insight. WISE is for students that are going to be going into their first year of college, and Insight is for women and gender expansive folks of all years. So you don't need to be in a specific year in school to apply for Insight. But it does, those self-identifiers are the same for both programs. WISE happens in July. Applications open up usually in April. And Insight actually happens twice a year. So Insight happens in the summer and also in the winter. So you can apply to either. It's either an August program or a January program. And applications for those open in April and September respectively. So for the August program, you'll look out for the application in April, and for the January program, you'll look out for the application in September. And those are also going to be a little bit different. So WISE, because it is for those younger students, is going to be just a touch shorter. It's going to be 2 days. And it's going to be a little bit more of a general program. So learning about Jane Street, learning about general CS and math topics, learning about probability and strategy that we use here at Jane Street and that we implement on the desk. But really digging into kind of things that we utilize in trading specifically. Insight, in the same way that InFocus operates, is it's going to be a little bit more in depth because you will apply to a specific track. So those 3 tracks that I mentioned earlier for InFocus are going to be the same for Insight. So that's trading, software engineering, and strategy and product. So when you apply to the program, you can apply to be on one of those specific tracks, and you're just going to dive a little bit deeper into that material. As I mentioned with InFocus, there are certainly going to be times where you are engaging as a program, or maybe attending lectures or classes that the entire program is going to, but the majority of your time will be spent diving deeper into the track for which you applied. So the material covered will really be about, will be related to whatever track it is that you applied for. But both of those programs will get you, a lot of face time with traders and technologists here. Certainly, you'll also just spend a lot of time in the office, which people tend to really enjoy. So that is WISE and Insight. Another program that we have, this is our last undergraduate program that we have, and this is called the JSIP. So this is our Jane Street Immersion program. It is, I would say, not in the way that InFocus and Focus I would consider to be siblings. I would say JSIP is like an older cousin to AMP in that the intended audience is pretty similar. It is for undergrads that are between their first and second year of school who have experienced barriers to access within computer science specifically. So AMP is going to be a little bit more generally STEM focused. So you're going to be learning math and CS. JSIP is specifically the programming side of things. So it happens over the summer. Applications tend to open up in October, and it is an 8-week program. So it's actually our longest program outside of our internship. So AMP is 5 weeks, JSIP is 8. It is completely residential. So we will fly you out to New York, provide housing and everything like that. And you basically will sit on the desk with our technologists for the entire summer. You're going to learn CS fundamentals. You're going to work directly with full-timers. And the hope is that it's going to encourage you to either keep studying CS or to potentially major in CS if it's something that is interesting to you. You don't need to be majoring in CS in order to apply, but our hope is that it will spark or kind of continue to help you develop that interest in computer science. Our JSIPers are treated pretty much like interns, so they're very much ingrained in the culture. They get to engage in a lot of the same office activities that full-timers do. And so I know that students, especially because they're a little bit younger, really enjoy that feeling of feeling like they're the big kids in the office as well. So that is our Jane Street immersion program. And the last program that I want to mention before I get to any questions is for graduate students specifically, and this is called our Graduate Research Fellowship. So this is specifically for PhD students, so not faculty. You have to actively be in your PhD program. And if you are accepted into what we call GRF, we will actually help cover an entire year's worth of tuition and fees for your PhD program, in addition to giving you a $45,000 stipend to help support you in your studies and your research. So this is really a kind of financial kind of program that we run to have basically help support PhD students as they go through their studies. But there is an in-person component in that not only do we provide this financial support, but there's also a weekend where we invite all of our GRF, we call them fellows, to our New York City office in April. And they basically come and help, they come and present their research to all the other GRF fellows. So it really becomes somewhat of a research symposium where students are able to engage in conversation, talk about things that they're working on, talk about the things they're learning in their program, and everything like that. And I know that that tends to be kind of the highlight for a lot of students, is just being able to engage in conversation with people that are kind of working on similar things. And that, like I said, is an entire weekend in April. It's certainly not a requirement if you are a GRF fellow to come to that weekend, although we hope that you do, just so that you can get to meet more people, you know, and learn a little bit more about their work. So those are kind of the main components of that program, is the research funding as well as the presentation of your work during that weekend. I know I just threw a substantial amount of information at you, and certainly there is no need to memorize all of this. We actually have an entire page on our website. If you just search up Jane Street programs, there's a page called Programs and Events, and that will list every single program that we have, and will also let you know whether or not we're actively accepting applications, or if we're not, when to expect the next program or the next session of that program to run. It will also list all the programs and timelines that I currently listed are specifically for our New York City office. But we also, like I mentioned, in the same way that we run internships across our global offices in London and Hong Kong, we also run a lot of these programs in the London and Hong Kong office as well. And so if that is of interest to you to apply to a program in a different office, you're more than welcome to do so. And all of those can be found on the programs and events page that we have on our website. So I know that I see already a few of those questions coming in. So I'm just going to open up the chat and get to it. Let's see what we have.
Okay, and just so you know, Marina,
Yeah.
as you were talking about each program, I put a link for each program in the chat.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes. So I
Yeah,
think,
that's super helpful.
yes. So, and let me ask, do you just want to go through chat, or do you want me to ask those to ask the question? What is your preference?
I don't have a preference. I see already quite a large number of
Okay.
the chat, so maybe some of those, but then I'm also happy to switch over if folks want to ask in person as well. I'll probably just do a couple of each, if that's okay.
Sounds great.
Fantastic. So starting in the chat, let's see if I can kind of run through some of these. Okay, so the first question, can a rising senior in college apply to both internship and full-time? For instance, internship opportunities are opening up, but grad school applications haven't opened yet for rising seniors. That is a great question. If your intention is to continue on into a graduate program, you're more than welcome to apply for an internship. And you are also welcome to apply for a full-time position. As I mentioned, full-time positions are open year-round, so certainly no rush if you want to wait to see if you're going to end up pursuing a graduate school program. But certainly if that is your intention to continue your studies, you're welcome to apply to both. Megan asked if I can share the TA application website. So that actually, the website that was shared for AMP, the TA applications will be listed on that website when they open up. So as I mentioned, you can expect those to open up sometime in October. So once it starts hitting September, October time, I would start checking the AMP webpage and they will be listed there. Somebody asked about our mystery puzzle events that's happening this month. So we run this is not an in-house program, but more just an event that we run throughout. It's actually now a global event. So we actually run it in different parts of the world. But it's called Mystery Planet, and it's basically somewhat of a puzzle room and an escape room that we've actually built in-house. And I always say that it's kind of a traveling escape room because we do run it globally. And we run it all throughout the year, different regions of the world. And so the best place to find out about where it's going to be would be on our website. So on that events page, anytime that we're going to be somewhere with Mystery Planet, it will be listed under the events, the date, the registration link, and everything like that. I will say that spots at Mystery Planet tend to be in very high demand because a lot of students are so interested in it. Registration does not guarantee that you'll get a spot, but certainly we try to accept as many students as we can. I will now switch over to in-person to give those folks that raise their hand a chance to speak. So let's start with Mahak, if you want to start first.
Yeah, I could go. Hello, I'm Mahak, a rising sophomore here at Boreal College. I've applied to some programs before at Jane Street. I've made it to the second stage, but wasn't able to go further for understandable reasons. My question, while like filling out the application, how could I highlight my experiences and backgrounds as an URM for one of the application series, like mentioned earlier when I applied? I haven't applied any program this year, I guess, but in my like earlier years, I applied to some programs, but I didn't really focus in on my like URM side, which I just have started to understand very recently. So how could I include that in my application, and how does it helps you, as a potential reader, I believe. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that that is for those URM programs specifically, part of the application is basically for you to check a box, just asking if you self-identify as URM. We will never ask you to tell us specifically how you identify or anything like that, but it's more of just a checkbox of whether or not that is something that you self-identify with. So certainly not necessary to add anything on your resume that you don't want to add, or we certainly don't want to make you feel like you have to add a specific line or anything like that on your resume. But certainly in general, I always tell people, I often get this question just more generally of, what should I add to my resume, or how do I make my resume stand out? And I always tell people it's obviously very hard for us to get a full sense of who you are as a person from a single sheet of paper. And so I always tell people, if you engage in an activity or with an organization or with a project of some sort that means something to you, put it on your resume. I want to know what basically drives you, Mahawk, specifically. I'm not looking for a specific list of things. I want to get to know you as a person as much as I can before I interview you or send you an assessment of some sort. And so if it means something to you, go ahead and include it.
And in the essay like sections, or if you want to let us like know anything in the additional information, how do I include those things there? Because I mean, in other places it might not make sense. Is there a particular way, I mean, or just a suggestion you would give to someone who might be a bit confused?
Yeah, I would say that our additional information section really is there just as an additional text box. If there is something that you feel like is not coming across fully in your resume, or maybe it's not a question that we ask in the application. Our application is very, as you probably know from applying to our in-house programs, pretty simple in that we don't really ask that many questions. And so if there is something that you feel like is important to highlight about you and your background specifically, you're welcome to add it in that box, but it's optional for a reason. So certainly not required. I don't believe that when I applied that I put anything in the additional information box. So certainly not a requirement. It's more just there as an additional resource if there is something else that you want to share.
Makes sense. Thank you for answering my question.
Of course. Thank you so much.
So my question is, as an incoming first-year college student who, didn't exactly get placed at the institution of their top choice, right? How can I stand out in terms of in terms of my academic achievements while being at a sort of, let's say, not top tier college?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I'll start by emphasizing I don't know whether to call it a misconception or what exactly word to use, but I think there tends to be this idea that we only hire from specific schools or from specific areas of the country, things like that. But I always emphasize that is certainly not the case. We hire from schools all around the country, all types of schools, private, public, little, big. And we also hire across majors. And so we don't have a major requirement. We don't have a GPA cutoff, nothing like that. So we're really open to students that attend any institution. So it's more so about what you are doing, whether in the classroom or outside of the classroom. In terms of things to include on your resume, I always like to say, I think with students, especially in these really technical roles like math and CS, I think something that's really important that I appreciate when I'm reviewing resumes is to see that not only are you excelling in your academic courses, but also that you genuinely enjoy the work that you're doing. I think something that makes Jane Street really special, and something that I noticed right off the bat when I first started working here, is that people genuinely love what they do. Our programmers love working with code. They love building tools. Our traders genuinely love, working in their fast-paced environment, making these quick decisions and things like that, and strategizing. And so I want to make sure that if I were to bring you to Jane Street, that you would not only be good at your job, but that you would actually like it. We want you to enjoy coming to work every day. And so anything that would show me that is really helpful. So not only the courses that you've taken, but also what are you doing outside of school that means something to you, whether that's a leadership position for an organization. Are you maybe part of a math circle? Are you part of a chess club? Are you participating in hackathons? Are you doing personal research, building something on your own, working with a teacher or a professor on something? So really anything that shows me that you're using your time to do these things because you genuinely enjoy it, I think is really helpful. And something that we can definitely tell from your resume of just how you're using your time. So as I was kind of mentioning before, if it's something that you spend a lot of time on and that means something to you and you feel like really shows a passion of yours, feel free to include it on there. But please don't feel discouraged or anything like that. We hire from schools all around the world. So certainly we would love to see your application.
Awesome. Thank you for answering my question.
Of course.
Yeah, hi, Marina. Thank you very much for a great session. So you mentioned that rising seniors can apply for both internships and full-time if they are if they are considering graduate school, right? My question there is, how do you present that on your resume, right? So I know on your resume you want to say, oh, maybe I'm graduating this May in 2025 and things like that. How do you say, well, I'm graduating, but I'm also thinking about applying to grad school, and how will recruiters look at that or do that?
That is a fantastic question. I would say that that is actually a great use of the additional information box that I was mentioning earlier to Mahak. So that is a box that we read because students tend to put that kind of information in there, whether it's, I know that there are some students, for example, that are in a traditional four-year program and then during their final year decide to stay for a fifth year to pursue a master's. So if that's your case, I would put it in there. If you're actively applying for graduate programs, that's also a place to put that. And so we will also read that and take that into account when reviewing your resume to get a better sense of where you're going, and so that we know that you're intending to continue pursuing your studies. So I would say that that's probably the best place to put that information.
Awesome, thank you.
Of course. And I will do Sean and then head back to the chat.
Alrighty, hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So earlier you talked about, for example, trying to display things on your resume that like you have a passion about and things of that nature, right? So at least like with my case, so I'm currently a graduate student and like my background has been solely research. I've done math research and I've also done like machine learning / like UI / UI research. But then, for example, you talked about things that you've done like outside of classes or outside of research in that context, because I really like the research I'm doing and everything. But like,
Yeah.
for example, with me, I was always told to not put some of that stuff on there, which I always thought was a bit counterintuitive. And I want to ask for like a bit of advice on how to like include some of that information. Because for example, with me, you mentioned this as an example actually, which is why I raised my hand, but I'm a big chess player.
Mhm.
And like I play in tournaments and stuff like that. And I got a rating of like 1800 in actual tournaments. And I never actually like put that on my resume or anything because I thought that wasn't like relevant to anything. So I want to ask for like advice on how you can include some of that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great example. I would say, well, first, I would say that we truly at Jane Street, across all of our roles, whether they be more technical or more business development focused, there truly is no checklist that we're looking for. So we're not looking for you to have a certain number of experiences in a specific category, or a specific amount of experience in research or leadership positions or anything like that. We know that students, from all across the majors and all across activities can have an interest in CS and math. So certainly we're just looking for that interest. And so if research has taken up a big part of your life and it's definitely something that you enjoy, please don't be afraid to include that. But if chess is also something that you enjoy and it's something that you've been participating in for a while, we would love to see that. I think those types of activities, whether that be chess, I know a lot of schools have poker clubs, math circles, anything like that, anything that shows us that you are using your brain in that kind of problem solving analytical way outside of the classroom is so fun for us to see. Because it's again showing us that not only are you really good at this, but you actually love it. Like you are taking the time to seek these things out outside of school. And so, like I said, please do not be afraid to add your research experience on there. That's definitely something that is helpful for us to see, because especially if it's been taking up a big part of your time, we want to know what you've been doing. But also those other types of activities that you're doing outside of school, even if it's not something that is directly kind of mathy related. I know a lot of students will put like they spend a lot of time learning how to juggle, or they spend a lot of time making YouTube videos about things that they're interested in, things like that. We love to see those little tidbits. So certainly feel free to put both things. And if chess is something that you're really passionate about, we'd love to see it.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I just want to make sure because I'm also even going to build my own chess thing this summer too. So yeah.
Yes, of course. Please include that. We'd love to see it. And I know I just have a couple of minutes, so I will try to get through as many of these questions as possible. Let's see what's going on here. So somebody asked about the internship. Again, if you don't have a graduate school offer yet, that's okay. Just let us know that you are in the process of applying and your intention is to go into graduate school if you're applying for an internship. Okay, this is a great question. So the difference between JSIP and our traditional software engineering internship, one, JSIP is shorter, it's 8 weeks. Our internships tend to be closer to 10 weeks. In addition, our JSIP fellows tend to be a little bit younger. So these are students that are in between their first and second year of school. Our software engineering interns tend to be a little bit further along. They tend to be between their junior and senior year of school. And so our JSIP fellows were fully aware that you only have 1 year of undergraduate courses under your belt. It's also a smaller cohort. I would say we tend to have about a dozen JSIP fellows. Our software engineering internship is substantially bigger than 12. And so it is just a little bit smaller. There's going to be a little bit more kind of personalized attention because it is a smaller group. And also because we know you don't have as much experience. So it's really the size of the program and also kind of how in depth we are asking you to go. Do you have any roles and opportunities for recent college grads? Yes, as I mentioned, our full-time roles are open year-round, so you're welcome to apply whenever you would like. I know that we're kind of entering the fall now where the job frenzy starts to kind of ramp up. So certainly if you want to apply in the fall, great. If you want to wait to apply, that's totally fine. I actually applied the summer after I graduated from college, so it is never too late. And we do review applications and interview year-round. So just apply whenever you're ready. Let's see what else we have going on. Megan asked if I can share my LinkedIn. Unfortunately, I don't have a LinkedIn, which is, we don't use it for our jobs here. So I am not really on social media in general. So I actually don't have a LinkedIn, but you are welcome. I have our recruiting email, jobs@janestreet.com. It reaches me as well as a few of my colleagues. So if you have any questions, that's going to be the best place to reach us. Whether that be just a question about a job or a program, or if there's something specific about your specific background or situation that you want to ask about, you're welcome to email us there. Somebody asked about our co-op roles. That's a great question. So we do have some co-op roles that are on our website. So those are specifically for students that are currently enrolled in a co-op program. If you are not sure whether or not you're enrolled in a co-op program, you are probably not enrolled in a co-op program. I want to say that in the US, the biggest feeder for our co-op program that we tend to see is Northeastern. They tend to have a pretty big co-op program. And then in Canada, Waterloo also has a co-op program. So those tend to be the two that send students to us just because the co-op program is an option for them. But certainly if you go to another school and you are part of a co-op program, you're more than welcome to apply. Let's see what's going on. How does recruiting occur for InFocus and JSIP? So all of our programs are gonna recruit the same way in that it starts with an application. As I was mentioning before, our application process, not only for our programs, but for our full-time opportunities as well, is pretty simple. It's really just your basic information and then uploading your resume. We don't require cover letters. We don't require letters of recommendation, anything like that. So it's pretty simple. It takes only a couple of minutes. And then the stages after that really depend on the program. So the programs that go a little bit more in depth might have some more steps. They might have an assessment or an interview of some sort. For our younger programs, I can speak to AMP specifically, for example. We have an application, an initial application. We then have an assessment stage where students have a take-home assessment. And then after that, it's an interview stage. And then we make our selections. So that's really dependent on the program itself. Somebody asked about visa sponsorship. That's a great question. For almost all of our internships and full-time positions, we are able to sponsor visas. For our in-house programs, however, we're able to sponsor for some, but not all. We wish we could sponsor for all, but it's just because of unfortunately some legal requirements that come with visa sponsorship and that we can't sponsor for all of them. But if there is a specific program that you are looking into that you're curious about, there should be an email specifically for that program on the program page. Feel free to shoot that email a message and just explain your situation, that you're interested in applying and whether or not we're able to sponsor, and we will be able to respond to you. Let's see. Somebody asked, what do you guys look for in applications for your in-house programs? This is a great question. I would say that obviously it's not going to be, especially for those younger programs, not going to be as in-depth as it would be for, say, an internship program, just because we know that you don't have as many years of classes under your belt or as many years of opportunities to be involved in leadership and organizations and things like that. But I would say that the biggest thing really is just the passion, that you've been seeking out these opportunities and activities. So I know a lot of students, for example, that apply to AMP and they say, you know, I hit my junior year and I've taken all of the CS classes that are offered at my high school, but I wanted to keep working on it. So I, you know, started organizing a hackathon, or my friends and I started building some sort of tool or an app or some sort of project that we're working on. And so, you know, even though they've hit that kind of limit that their school was offering, they still kept pushing and finding more things to work on and more things to do. A lot of people self-teach themselves things and things like that. So for the in-house programs really is that you're just trying to continue that education outside of the classroom. Let's see. Somebody asked about applying and not receiving an email response. That is either one, because the application hasn't closed. Most of our in-house programs won't reply until applications have closed, and at that point we will review applications and get decisions out. But if the application has already closed, feel free to email us at jobs@janestreet and we can get you an update if you haven't gotten one already. For internships for 2025, the applications will open up in July. So in about a month, you can start looking out for those. Let's see, I'll do one more question. So I have a question about getting a full-time role if they didn't do an in-house program or an internship. This is certainly possible. It's not a requirement to have engaged with us prior to applying for a full-time job. So we don't, let's see what the right word is. We don't like track interest. So we won't say this person has come to our career fair table this many times, or this person has come to this many programs, or anything like that. We don't track that kind of stuff. And so if you are now at the end of your undergraduate career and you are interested in applying for a job with us, you're certainly more than welcome to do so, and don't need to have interacted with us in some way prior to that. I know plenty of people that did not intern with us and did not do any programs here, and they are now full-timers at Jane Street and have been working here for multiple years. So I have seen it firsthand. So certainly, I always tell people, if you're interested in the work, you want to come work for us, apply. We'd love to see your application. But I think that's all we have time for, but I really appreciate all of the questions. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of your time. I know, as I said, that this was a lot of information being thrown at you. And like I said, jobs at Jane Street is going to be the best place to email us. We try to reply within 24 hours. So it's a pretty quick turnaround. If you have any questions about jobs, internships, programs, anything about your specific case or anything like that, you're more than welcome to shoot us an email there.
Okay, thank you. That was great. Yes, and thank you for answering so many questions for our part 2. So very much appreciated.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
Yeah, so I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for participating in our session today, and a special thanks to Marina for the presentation about Jane Street, also an overview of so many different programs, which is great. So wonderful, ranging from high school, undergrad, grad school. It was good to learn also about your graduate research fellowships. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Of
And
course.
so with that, I also want to thank Shannon Anderson, who is our who is running or facilitating the webinar. So thank you, Shannon, very much appreciated. But thanks again, Marina. This was wonderful and very informative.
Thank you so much for having me.